Good afternoon. Hello, I'm Dustin Zarni. This is Commissioner in the Car. I'm the Democratic Elections Commissioner for Onondaga, and I'm wearing my Santa hat because we are finally on Christmas vacation here at the Onondaga County Board of Elections. We have certified the New York Senate District 50 race. I know Oswego County has certified as well today, and we are now done with the 2022 election cycle. By the way, we are not the last race to be called, even in New York. There's a Queens Assembly race that's one vote that I believe they are sending out affidavit or cure ballots, and I think that is yet to be called. And we're not even the closest, because as I said in my post yesterday, sorry, a little tired, so I'm going a little out of order, but John Mannion, after the hand count, after the absentee ballots, after the judges' rulings, after 132,000 or so votes cast, he's the winner by 10 votes for New York Senate District 50. He wins his re-election in his new district, and he also will be the senator that will give Democrats a 2/3 majority on the New York State Senate, keeping their supermajority. So both the Democrats have supermajorities in the Assembly and in the New York Senate, as well as the governor's office in New York. This is significant. It makes it easier to get bills passed. It also is, with all the media speculation and other speculation that this is going to be a Republican year, at the end of the day, not so much. They picked up a couple of congressional seats in New York that many people feel like they shouldn't have, and the Democrats kind of fell down, especially in the DCCC with several of the candidates, and maybe even locally. But on a state Senate-wise, the Democrats are in control of the governorship. They are in control of 2/3 of the majority in the Senate and in the Assembly, and that's because John Mannion won this re-election, and it was very, very close. So I promised yesterday, and I did a post about this earlier today, but that I would go on, talking about the objections and what we've learned from this hand count process. And what I've learned is there are really, there was only 12 ballots in Onondaga County that were overturned by the judge. There were 17 in Oswego County that were overturned by the judge. And what I mean by overturned is went against the Board of Elections ruling. In all 29 of these ballots, the Board of Elections had ruled the ballot on or split as commissioners which met went on. And in all 29 of those, excuse me, sorry, very tired. In all 29 of those, the judge reversed the Board of Elections rulings, taking a vote away from a candidate. He took away 7 more from Mannion than he did from Sheriff, which brought his lead from 17 down to 10. Now, in these 29 objections that were reversed, a good deal, and then of course we had another 14 ballots that were thrown out by the Board of Elections commissioners. Those 35 of those 43 or so ballots were thrown out because they had some kind of writing on it. Again, 14 were thrown out by the Board of Elections, and then an additional, some was thrown out by the judge, and they were done so because people wrote on the ballots. What was the writing that they did? Well, there was a Mannion vote that wrote "no more red" in a write-in box. There was a Sheriff vote that the person wrote "clown" in on the ballot. There was a ballot that somebody actually wrote "oops" on the ballot. Any type of word that is written on the ballot, no matter where they write it, unless it's a write-in candidate in the write-in candidate box, will throw out a ballot. And that's what we found was the most prevalent reason why a ballot was thrown out. So my advice to voters is please do not write anything on the ballot. If it's an absentee ballot, there's no need to sign it. We saw a few of those. Don't put messages on there like "no more red" or "these guys are clowns" or whatever like that. No matter how witty you think you are, the result is that you're going to get your ballot thrown out in a very close race like this when those ballots are hand examined. Now, these ballots went through the machines because the machines can't pick up that type of writing, and thus it threw them out, or it didn't throw them out, and it only would be thrown out in a very close race in a hand count. But however, in a very close race like a hand count, that's when you need all the ballots you can get on your side. So do not sign, write, or do anything like that on the ballot. I'm trying to get some caffeine in me because I think I'm about to pass out. It's been a long month. The other most prevalent thing is there were 5 ballots that had what the judge said was hesitation marks. These were little dots inside voting ovals on the ballot. The boards of elections erred on the side of voters and cast those votes for the people that they said they put that mark in. There were several Mannion votes. There were several Sheroff votes that fell into this category. I actually think there was more Sheroff votes that fell into this category than Mannion votes overall. But I think it was like 3-2 because there was 5 ballots that were like that. The boards of elections erred on the side of the voters, and both commissioners agreed to count those ballots. But the judge overruled the commissioners in each and every one of those cases. This is something that I myself am learning about what a judge considers a valid vote with voter intent. And it makes sense. The rest of the ovals were filled in on these ballots completely, and these little pinprick hesitation marks did not truly indicate a vote for the person. So they were discarded. And there was another ballot that was discarded, which I actually think, I'm glad it doesn't come down to one vote, because this would be one I question, is that the voter, instead of filling in the voting ovals, wrote in the candidate's name in the write-in box. And the judge has ruled that ballot is off. And there was only one of those. That if you have a nominated candidate, you're supposed to vote for them in the voting ovals and not write them in the write-in box. So, and I think there was another one where there were some stray marks on the ballot. However, some of the stray marks were in blue ink and not black ink, and black ink was used to color the ovals in, and so the judge decided that blue ink could be an identifying mark, and identifying marks throws out the ballot just like language on the ballot throws out the ballot. So those are some of the examples that I examined today of the ones that were thrown out. Some of the examples that were not thrown out, torn ballots. There was a significant amount of objections to ballots that were torn, and one ballot that was ripped apart entirely. And the reason we posited at the Board of Elections is that this was done in the post-election canvass, since it was already counted in the machine votes. These torn ballots wouldn't have been counted. Or sometimes a ballot is torn when it's being ripped off of a perforation. These are the things that are done. The judge didn't rule any of those ballots off, including the ripped apart ballot, because we could show to the judge that the machine counted it at first, and it must have been done in the post-election handling of the ballots. and so the judge kept those ballots on. Another thing that was one of the most prevalent objections, especially from the Sheriff campaign, was on the prop on the back. Many voters decided to circle yes instead of voting in the circle, and this is on the environmental prop that was on the back, and they would either go through the oval or something else. Ooh, sorry. The judge ruled all of those ballots on. The Sheriff campaign was indicating that this was an intentional mark to signal to someone to identify them. And the judge threw out all their objections, save one. There was one of those type of objections that got through, and that's because instead of just doing a circle, the person kind of did a little design around the yes, what looked like some kind of wreath, almost maybe Christmas season wreath that went around the yes. So that ballot was actually thrown out because the judge said it was a symbol on the ballot, not a word, but a symbol, which could identify the ballot. So these are the types of things that I'm going to continue to try to remind voters going into the next election, which I hope is not until June, the June primary, although there will be some village elections in March, to not do. Do not write on the ballot. Do not sign the ballot. Do not do anything but a write-in in the write-in boxes. Don't put things like no more red or all these people are clowns. These kind of things that got these ballots thrown out. And yes, Laura's chiming in, our beleaguered commissioner from Oswego County, who also went through all of this with us, and she's also very tired. All the boards of elections are very tired. But we were able to certify today, and so a lot of us are going on vacation. I want to just talk about the hand count in general, because this is a law that I supported. I still support her, but it can be refined. We're learning that the machines are very, very accurate. The amount of ballots that are not picked up by the machine is minuscule. So the 0.5% ratio may be a little too large. Now, nothing would help with the Senate district race. 0.0006% or something like that, or 10 votes. We're gonna have a recount on something like that. But we have seen this recount happen in other places where it's just under that 0.5%. We saw the congressional race was at 1%, but at one point it thought that it was at 2%. It came down to 1. Thought it might be able to get down to that 0.5% ratio. So that is something that I think that I'd like the voters to look into. Sorry, I'm being signaled by my wife because she doesn't know I'm doing a commissioner in our driveway. That's something that can be done. Also, what should be done is that we should go to certification first. And if we're in certification and we go through all of the certification, then we were trying to do that at the same time as preparing for hand counts, and it was very hard to do. So getting that done first is going to be something that I'm going to be pushing for with the legislature. But other than that, I think the hand count did what it was supposed to do, which is it gave assurance to the voters and to the candidates that every vote was counted and that the person who is the winner is actually the person who most voters chose. And I also want to say hats off to both John Mannion and Rebecca Sheriff through this campaign. There was a lot of tense moments in this recount, but most of the time everybody was under control. And I especially want to thank Rebecca Sheriff. John Mannion is a friend. I absolutely support John, obviously. But Rebecca Sheriff, immediately after the judge's ruling, issued a very classy and heartfelt concession on Facebook. And it shouldn't be that this is nice to see, but in the age of election denials, it needs to be said that someone who went through the entire process and then at the end didn't continue to fight it, didn't throw aspersions. Rebecca congratulated John and in a very classy post, and I appreciate that, because that's how our democracy is built, and especially having this judge's order come on the last hearing of the January 6th commission, and having that juxtaposed, I'm reminded about how fragile our democracy can be, and it takes good people on both sides to believe and participate in our democracy. So I'm very glad that happened. So that being said, I got to get going. So I will not have a Zoom with Zarni this week. I'm not sure I'll have a Wonky Wednesdays until the new year. But once the new year comes, I plan on getting back in with my Zoom with Zarnies and Wonky Wednesdays. I will do Commissioner in Cars the next 2 weeks. Next week, I will talk about a wrap-up of 2022, kind of a recap of what happened in 2022. And then the week after New Year's, I'll be talking about new legislation that has been signed by the governor and or passed, and there's a lot of bills that have been passed, a lot of new legislation coming in, and we'll be talking about that in the next couple of weeks. But for now, thank you very much. Congratulations to Senator Mannion, and thank you to the voters of Onondaga County, and have a good Christmas, everyone, and happy holidays to those who don't celebrate Christmas. There's a lot of holidays in December, and that's why I say happy holidays. Bye-bye.